Hello everybody, Kris Gethin here, and welcome back to another episode of the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. You may be thinking, Kris, where were you last week? You didn't give us an episode. Well, I was traveling. I was on the road for close to 4 weeks, I think. I did manage to record one episode though when I was in Delhi. Yeah, I was in Delhi, I believe, or Bangalore. Maybe it was Bangalore. Bangalore, yes, I recorded an episode there. But because the travel was very, very hectic, I decided to give all of you a break and come back fresh and nasty this week. Now, if you do like the Knowledge and Mileage podcast, please keep our doors open by leaving us an honest rating and review. You can go on iTunes and leave us a rating review. And if you like it, please let us know. And if you really, really like it, please share it with someone else. Now, I have a guest with me today. You may or may not know her. If you've watched my videos, if you follow me on socials, you probably know her. Her name is Sunshine, and she is my girlfriend. So we were having a discussion the other day in the car, and I said, you know what, I think we should probably discuss this on the Knowledge and Mileage podcast, because we do have some similarities but polarities when it comes to certain subjects, this being one of them. And I'm kind of more along the lines of being an antisocial person. I would think so. I'll ask Sunshine for her opinion on that. Where Sunshine is a social butterfly. So welcome to the show, Sunshine. It's great to have you on.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kris Gethin.
You've been waiting for nearly a year to get on my show.
I know. I'm like, when will you invite me on here? I have so much to say.
Yeah, I know. So this could go on for like 2 hours. So I hope you've got lots of cardio ahead of you guys. So we were discussing. What was it? Friendship. How to get friends. How did we get onto this subject?
Okay. So we're talking about how to make friends as an adult, and it's because while Kris was away in India, I had a lot of time to myself, and I realized, wow, I don't know that I have a girlfriend right now to call to go have a drink with me or go on a walk or nothing like that. And so I started Googling how to make friends as an adult, which I have to say is a little bit embarrassing that you have to look that stuff up.
I would have never admitted that.
Yeah. And this is not at all a pity party, because I know I'm going to have some girlfriends be like, what the hell? You don't have friends? You could call me? But that's not it. It's just understanding that friendships are meaningful and we need them in our life. And I discovered that there was an app to make friends. So you guys might know of Tinder and Bumble. Well, Bumble has created Bumble BFF, and this is not a plug for them, but I found it really fascinating that we can use an app now to find friends. But here's the thing. After you've matched or whatever with this friend, you still have to connect with them in person. And that's where we kind of got on this subject, because that's the part that seems to be a bit more challenging these days, especially now that we're on screens all the time, we're talking to people online, and we don't have that physical dimension necessarily. And Kris knows how to make friends. This is where we got on. He knows what to do, but I clearly am just learning.
Which is the funny thing, because I think I know how to make friends. Yeah, sure, if I want to make friends, I'm going to join some clubs. You know, whether that be like a cycling club, a hiking club, a reading club, an art class, whatever it may be. Some sort of way that you're going to socially interact with somebody, and after maybe 12 weeks, you will know if you want that person to be a friend or not. And over the years, I have narrowed my friends. You can count them on one hand, and they usually live in other countries. Maybe I interact with them and see them a couple of times a year, but that's good. I am good with that. A lot of the time, I like my alone time, and I don't want to socially interact. I've said this before, and much like Henry Rollins, I am much more comfortable in front of people instead of being with people. Just how it is, I get a little bit anxious. Don't ask me over for Thanksgiving, please. Do not ask me over to a sporting event. For Christmas, I may come up the driveway, and the same as Henry Rose, you hear people in there laughing, giggling, having a good time. I'm going to turn around because now I feel like I have to live up to somebody else's expectations, or I need to talk when I don't really want to talk. Maybe there's times that I'm not feeling good and I just don't want to be around people. I don't want sympathy. If I'm not feeling good, that's going to make me feel worse or soften me somewhat. So I just prefer to have my time. And sometimes, actually a lot of the time, people are the anti-work. I don't like answering my phone unless somebody has scheduled a time to speak, because I am not very good at dual purpose. Multitasking. I am terrible at that. So if you call me and it's not scheduled, I am forgetting what I'm doing, and now I'm getting frustrated with myself because I've forgotten or whatever. So, there's a lot of reasons. I could go for days about this. But there's a lot of reasons why I keep my social circle very, very small, and I'm good with that. But you being very different, like I've seen you in front of people, you're hot stuff when you're out there, and you are very good at interacting people, and I see how you glow, and other people glow from you. But now you are in a predicament where you're dating somebody that doesn't want to go out on Friday night, doesn't want to go out to this art show because there are other people there. Are there going to be other people there? Yeah, I'm not going. You have fun. I will never stop you from doing that. You know that. But what challenge do you face now, maybe, from before you were dating me to now? Is there a different challenge? Because I'm a little bit more standoffish, and if I had my own way, we'd be living 10 miles out of town. And how do you feel being with other people can benefit you?
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the areas we're very different. And this, like he said, if you don't call when you're scheduled, he's not going to answer. Whereas, I'm your girl. You want to call me up and chat? Let's do it. I'm that kind of friend. So I don't know that I've changed so much since we started dating, but I've definitely recognized that I think just with age, I want to spend more quality time with people. And I want to spend more, I don't like the small talk myself. And I don't necessarily want to be in massive groups, but I do appreciate more intimate settings. However, to cultivate that requires some sort of dating, right? You have to date or court your friend or whoever's going to be your friend. And that's time. That involves a lot of time. And what I found with myself these past few years is that I've been putting more time into my own projects and my own work and myself, and haven't made time for other people. And in the middle of all that, I've had some good girlfriends. A lot of my friends live out of town, so that's a big portion of that. But otherwise, people have just moved on with their lives. They've had kids. And so I think right now I'm just entering a new phase of my life where I'm trying to understand how to be a good friend to people who aren't going out to the bars anymore, or who aren't available Friday night, Saturday night, any night, because they've got a baby, they've got children, they've got responsibilities. And
how inconsiderate.
I know, what the heck?
Freaking babies, man.
Get a babysitter and hang out with me. No, but it's learning to meet people where they're at in their life. And that's what the crossroads I find myself at. But it's also knowing to put myself out there. I think in the past it was easier for me to put myself out there because I was out all the time, always going out no matter what event. And lately I haven't been doing that because, like I said, I've been trying to focus in on my work. I've been working on my art a lot more in the evenings, and so that's been taking up some time, or just working on different projects, or not at all, just taking time to breathe because the day's been so busy. And so now I'm, all of a sudden when I found myself with some time that I didn't want to work on art, or I didn't want to work on a project, or I didn't want to be myself, I started to realize how important it is to put yourself out there. And that's where I realized I had to go back to the beginning to learn how to put myself out there. Because you say, oh, it's easy, just join a club. But okay, I join a club, I go there, I still have to talk. I still have to reach out to people.
That's true, of course. Like with anything, if you want to see some sort of success, you're going to have to make some sort of sacrifice, and that's what you have to do. You have to go and court, date, join a club that you may not even want to join, or join a club where you feel that there's going to be people with similar interests to you. You go to the gym, you go and find people in the gym that shares the same interest, and maybe you're going to hang out. You know, there's some sort of common theme that you can spread apart on. But yeah, it's not going to be easy, especially now, today, with a lot of social interacting happening online. So you lose a lot of those people skills. So you find it a little bit harder to get back into the game now. I know that I probably would. It would be awkward. Or I would find myself being someone else to please that person, to kind of get into the conversations easier. You have to put on a mask, and I hate putting on a mask. I prefer to just leave the mask off at home, you know? So, you know, is it because, and what is the benefit here? So, because I was just telling your mother earlier, I study the blue zones because, you know me, I'm all about anti-aging. I want to hack my health. I want to increase my health span. I want to live past 100. So I study the blue zones, and the blue zones are around the world where you have the most centenarians. People who live past 100, they live in great health, and you look at all the similarities of these blue zones. You know, they eat a certain way, they exercise, they're active throughout the day, and they are all very sociably active, not online. You know, this is my grandfather. Like my grandfather, he's 94 years old, and he's always with somebody all the time. And that's probably one of the things that gives people purpose. It makes people feel good. When you're interacting with family members, if you're not arguing with them, your cortisol levels are going to be lower. Your body's going to have a better immune defense system. Your immunity is obviously going to be higher. So I know I should definitely interact more if I want part of my parcel to live past 100 to be complete.
Yeah.
You know, so when you do find these clubs, maybe you can introduce me to them after you've made all these sacrifices.
Yeah. Well, you know, you hit on a good point. There is something so powerful to having friends. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to, you know, find the scientific reason behind it. But if you look at the people who are thriving, they are all very socially connected on a very quality level. It's not just an acquaintance you say hi to when you pass on the street, because we all have tons of those. But it's the people who breathe fresh air into your life. It's the people who you talk to and you're like, God, I feel so good. They just did something to me, you know, magic. And it's the transference of energy. And we all seek that, because like you could be on dating sites, whether it's for romantic reasons or for BFFs, all you want. Because that
what does BFF stand for?
Best friends forever.
Okay, that's a millennial term, is it?
No.
Oh.
It's totally American. But,
right, that's why then.
So, you know, whether it's romantic or BFF, you still are looking for that person you could spend quality time with, whether it's just watching shit TV or painting your nails or doing anything with. It doesn't have to be anything like epic. It's people you could spend actually mundane, normal time with that I think, at least I seek. You know, people that you don't have to wear a mask around, people who you don't need to, you know, get ready for. It's your friend. They're going to love you and accept you if you have cat hair on your shirt, or, you know, your hair is a mess, or however it is. But it's seeking those connections. And one of the things, you know, I recognize in my life is that I just kind of thought it happened naturally, and I didn't have to put any work into it. That, yeah, you're my friend, and if we're friends, it's because we just like naturally are friends, and not realizing how, you know, just as you put effort into a romantic relationship and you have to talk to them, you know, you have to like show them you care, you have to do the same for friends, for the non-romantic side as well. And I think that's the part that kind of gets lost, is like, you know, we make friends as kids and we don't think about it. We don't think about the process of how to make friends. And it's only been now that I'm looking at myself being like, okay, step 1, approach your target. Step 2, say hello. Step 3, you know, and you're breaking it down into the smallest of details, and having to like really think about that part of it now.
Yeah. So do you think there's a struggle with people that are younger trying to find that friendship because of, you know, like we were at the gym the other day, and we sat in front of a family, and and the kids were maybe three years old, maybe one was 4, and they're just playing on the iPads, watching cartoons. The mother was not interacting with them. She was on her phone. And the temporal and the frontal lobes of the brain are still developing. That it still develops as a teen, okay? And studies have proven that children that are actually spending a lot of time online are developing, what's the term for it? Well, the inconsistencies that allow them to interact with humans properly. And this has been proven vice versa as well. However, if they do start to learn a certain thing, that they can adapt. But if they are young, and like I said, these parts of the brain are still developing, they do not develop, which in areas which allow them to socially interact as well. They're uncomfortable. They don't feel as good, and they come across as awkward or whatever it may be. And if they're apprehensive. So do you think, because maybe people today coming up into their 20s that have spent a lot of their time, or teenage years, spent a lot of their time socially interacting because parents have given them these online devices and that's their only interaction other than school, that they're going to have problems as they get older?
Maybe. I'd love to see the data on that, because
I'll send you the links.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see the data of these kids who have grown up with technology. Are they more socially conscious? Do they have higher emotional intelligence? Are they able to connect with people on a deeper level because they've been so social, or has it gone the other way? Because for me, I think it makes me a bit awkward. If I'm online, that's different. That's a different me. Even though I'm trying to be my authentic self, there's still these layers. And so when you meet somebody in person, you hear it all the time. People even say it to you, like, "Oh my God, I met you in real life and you were really nice." Or,
yeah, they all think
"You're really
assholes.
short."
Yeah.
But people say that all the time about, people they see online, how when they meet them in person, they're either nice or they're either really rude or they didn't pay attention to them. And so noticing that there's a big difference to being online and being in person, yeah, I wonder how that's going to affect people. I think we were talking about this earlier, it comes down to eye contact. Do these people who are on screens all the time, do they make eye contact? Do they know what that is? Because that's one of the things that I think is one of the essential elements of just connecting with people, is making eye contact. That's how we met. We first made eye contact and we're like, "Oh, hi." Our eyes met.
You couldn't take your eyes off my chest.
I could not. Those things were huge.
Were.
Yeah, were. You're building them back up, I know.
Next year, baby.
Yeah.
You wait. I
Were
know
you
the anticipation must be killing you.
You were like 300 pounds though when we met.
Oh yeah, of course. 302. Yeah, but the technology and screen time has been shown in these studies that it had kind of rewired their brains, and it appears that the increased screen time neglects the circuits in the brain that control the more traditional methods for learning, which are typically used for reading, writing, and concentration.
Oh, wow.
And as I mentioned, it does give you, this dopamine effect, and it kind of makes you feel good. And it's a form of nurturing that people feel from this. And they say, the average person checks their device 150 times a day. I'm not one of those people. So if that's the average, how many times are they checking? You know what I mean? So anyway, we're kind of going a little bit off track there. So let me ask you personally, so what is your goal now in regards to this social interaction? And how do you feel it could positively affect you?
Well, here's the thing. Growing up, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I want to meet this man or woman or whoever, and I want to have a dog, and I want to have a house, and I want to have these things." And you visualize and you think with intentionally, like, the qualities you want to see in your significant other. But personally, I never set out to think, what qualities do I want to see in a friend? I just kind of took whoever liked me, or whoever I liked. And so now, I'm approaching friendship with intention. I'm thinking about the kinds of people I want in my life, because like I said, I don't want to be wasting my time on small talk. I don't want to be wasting my time just dicking around like I used to. I actually want to have meaningful times with people. And so I'm setting out and actually thinking about, okay, what kind of person do I want? And then two, I think this will benefit my life because, like I said, there's this unspoken magic about friendship that, you're in my life and you're amazing, but a friend, you're different than a friend. You know, and I think that's really important, is that, like, yes, of course your significant other is a vital part of your life and of your well-being, but you cannot discount your friends. You cannot discount the fact that friends are so vital to our everyday life. They're the people who are going to listen to the conversations you're not going to, you know, or that your significant other's not going to. And they're the ones that are going to be able to give you a new perspective that, unfortunately, your significant other might not. So for me, it's intentionally thinking about who I want in my life. And then 2, putting myself in those situations where I could meet them. You know, whether that's, I'm still trying to think where at the library, you know, because it's not like I want to go meet someone at a bar.
Well, we had this conversation yesterday when we went out cycling, and you did 59 miles.
Yeah.
You should have done 1 more mile to that.
59.4.
59.4. Should have took it to 60. And we sat down and we had a coffee, and you said, you know what, I think after this Ironman, because we've got an Ironman in 2 weeks' time, I'm going to just do something different, maybe pick up a sport, something that I actually enjoy. Now, do you think, you know, the need for some social interaction is a little bit different to mine? Because I've always I've always gravitated towards individual sports, where I'm accountable to myself. I never liked team sports. I like watching team sports. I like rugby. But, you know, I've always competed like in motocross or downhill mountain biking, and then bodybuilding, and now, you know, Ironman or ultra marathon, where it's just your individual, where you've always participated in sports. Team sports, like what?
Soccer, basketball, volleyball, softball. I think that's it. Swim team.
Swim team. Okay, so that you're getting a lot of social interaction there, where you've become accustomed to. You've grown up in a city. Is Nampa a city? No, a town. A town.
But I grew up with sisters. Okay, so those are built-in friends.
Yeah. And like I grew up on a farm. Yeah. You know, my ferret was my best friend. You know,
still is.
I won't tell you what I did with my ferret. But anyway, so I wonder if that is part of the parcel where, you know, like I'm good in the hills. I'm good by myself. I can't hunt for shit, but I'm learning. And, you know, I just kind of prefer that side of things because of maybe the wiring, the circuitry of my upbringing. Do you think that is part of the reason why you're more sociable and seek the more social interaction, because you're not participating in these sports now?
I don't know if it's because of sports necessarily. I just wonder if that's always been within my nature. Maybe I gravitated towards team sports because I was more naturally more social, and I wanted to be around that group. I mean, I remember in high school, I chose to play soccer exclusively over basketball because I preferred to be around the girls on the soccer team. And I still would. Like, all the girls that I played soccer with in high school are amazing, amazing people. And I would still to this day hang out with them, whereas like I wouldn't say that necessarily about the girls on the basketball team. And so, yeah, for me, that was kind of like, you know, a family, growing up with like a group of people who shared a similar interest to me, and we all had a very similar goal. And so I don't know that I would join a team sport now necessarily, but, you know, still finding some way to be a part of a community that is working towards the same goal.
Right, gotcha. So, and did you like school? Did you like being around people at school?
Yeah, to some level. I mean, I didn't dislike it like you did. You know, you really hated it.
Hated every day. I had to psych myself every single. I'd psych myself up every single day to get through a day. Just hated going to school. I would much prefer to be back at home on a farm and riding my motorbike.
Wow. Yeah. No, I loved college. College was my absolute favorite. I loved that, and that was a good time with people. I didn't love high school by any means, but yeah, college was where I really felt like it was a good time.
Why did you like college?
Because I was on my own. I wasn't I mean, if I wanted to skip class, I skipped class. Nobody was going to call my mother. You know, that was like something where it was up to me to be successful. And that was fun. It was fun figuring that out. Fun figuring out, wow, okay, if I don't come to this class every day, there's no way in hell I'm passing. And realizing that, wow, if I do come to class, I get to interact with people. I get to meet other people. I get to, you know, that's how I found some of my best friends to this day. is because I walked into class and I was like, I want to be a friend.
Right. See, I did like college, but only the second time round. The first time round, I didn't like it because I was doing engineering. It wasn't something that I felt like I connected to. After 8 months, I'm out. But then when I went back to college to study international health and sports therapy, I enjoyed it, not because of the people, but because I was able to retain the information, because now I'm doing something I love, something that I'm passionate about. I wanted to explore, I wanted to learn, I wanted to apply. So now all of a sudden, college being part of it, people being part of it, that they were there by default, but I enjoyed it so much because of what I was learning as opposed to who I was socializing with.
Right. Well, yeah, when you're around people who also want to talk about the same thing you want to talk about, that you're interested in, it makes it that much more exciting. You know, and you're like, yeah, I get to go to class and see Fred or Susan, you know, and it's nice. You have somebody there who's talking to you about whatever you studied that day, and it just, you walk away feeling somehow like you have value. And that's kind of one of the things that friends do, is they make you feel valuable. They make you feel like you're here. You're not invisible. Somebody's thinking about you. Somebody wants to see you or spend time with you. And you can't pay for that. You know, there's nothing you can do to create that authentic feeling that friends give you.
Sure. Do you think part of this, though, is maybe you're just fighting change? Because as you get older, you do change. There's no doubt about it. Like, I used to have more friends when I was younger, for sure. But as you get a little bit older, you know, if I think back when I was in college, you know, I was getting really into bodybuilding at that stage. And I loved having a discussion. You know, one of my teachers was actually Dal Aldis. He'd won Mr. Britain, come second in the universe. I think, you know, the guy was absolutely a monster. He was to me back then, even though he was only like 5'6". He was as wide as he was tall. And, you know, like discussing with other people when you're looking, you know, for instance, you're trying to evolve yourself as a physical being, and you're talking about the hamstring hang separation from the quad and trying to develop the thickness of your lats as opposed to just the width. And how do you bring out that Christmas tree? Is it from more deadlifting? Is it just from dieting? Is it from the reverse? Whatever, you know, just talking about the different things. If you could see a deficiency, maybe it's your upper pec, what you can do and how many times do you have to prioritize it over the next year to bring it up for that next show. But now those discussions are further away from me than I could imagine. When people are discussing this, showing me pictures of them on their phone, you know, all tanned up, ready to compete, and me asking me for my advice, I'm not as obsessive about that as I once was. To me, sometimes if I listen to several people talking about it, I'm kind of bored by that conversation, in all honesty. So maybe times have changed. Your taste in food, alcohol, whatever, changes. So maybe that's just a part of you that changes as a human being.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely something I'm dealing with. And I mean, I can see it in you too. Like, maybe you're not obsessed about talking about hamstrings anymore, but you are really interested in like power wattage and cadence on a bike, or, you know, getting really into the triathlon world and talking about that with other people. So that's a different taste for you. And I think that's the same for me, where, yeah, I was, you know, growing up, you're surrounded by a group of friends, whether it was because I was playing sports, so I had my group of friends from that. Then going into college, had my group of friends from that. But now, post-college, out into the quote-unquote real world, realizing that I'm not playing the sports, I'm not going to the classes, I'm not doing the things that I used to do. And on top of that, most of my friends have left. You know, they've moved out of state, or they're somewhere else, or their situations have changed and they've had children, and now they're full-on mothers or fathers. Because I think that's something too that, you know, I forgot to mention, like, you know, in college or growing up, had tons of guy friends, and now not so much anymore.
Because they take one look at me. I forget.
Well, because their wives take one look at me, and they're like, you're not hanging out there anymore. No, but that situation also changes, you know. And I think, yeah, of course, when you're in a relationship with somebody, it's going to be harder to make meaningful relationships with the opposite sex, that are strictly just friendship based. Because I think that's a hard one to navigate. You know, to be like, hey, I'm going to have my friend Billy over, and don't worry, we're just watching movies. You're in India. It's cool. You okay with that? Yeah. So I think that's a bit harder. So that's fine, you know. That's something that you have to deal with growing up. But I think when it comes to, like, relationships that you feel comfortable with, that, you know, your partner feels comfortable with too, it's understanding that, like, yeah, I'm finding myself at a standstill where people have moved on, or some relationships just have dissipated because for one reason or another. You know, there are tons of people here who I'm not friends with anymore, and I'll say it's both of our faults. You know, it's not one person or another. It's a 50-50 split on whoever's fault it is that relationship didn't work. But I definitely take a lot of the blame for the relationships that I've had with friends that didn't work out. And only because I see it now, like, just in the lack of effort I put into it, or in the assumptions that I put into it, or in the expectations I had of it. So that's, like, a big part of, like, my new strategy for friendships. You know, expect nothing, put in as much as you want, and don't expect to get it back. But also seek people who have a similar interest in you and actually have the same drive, because I think that's a big part of it too. Like, I don't want to hang around people who are content with their lives. I want friends who want more, who are always trying to push the bar, who always want to be better people, who, you know, are open-minded about the world. And so I think that
does politics matter?
You know what? To some degree, yes. To some degree, yes. Not fully, but I mean, there's some issues for sure that I will not be able to see eye to eye with someone.
So if they have a Trump bumper sticker?
Look, I'm not going to get into that, but it'll be specific policies that they're for or against, you know, that I wouldn't be, I don't know if I want to hang out with them.
So everybody be aware when Sybil comes around, make sure you are recycling.
Yeah,
otherwise
make sure.
She's out.
Yeah, don't be covered in plastic. Yeah, but that's an important part of it. Like, could I be around a friend who just ate out of plastic and...
You talking about Nick Holt?
Talking about Nick Holt. Okay? You hearing this, Nick Holt? Not gonna be your friend.
So no more disposable plates and cups.
Yeah. Please, everyone, go to Nick Holt's page and buy him a China plate. Oh, God.
Right, and we, like, you've used the excuse before now, well, you know, these people have kids, but I referred to my sister because even though my sister, she doesn't even know what Instagram is, by the way.
Right.
And I think because she doesn't spend so much time online, like if I WhatsApp her, maybe she'll respond 24, 48 hours later, she just does not check. Maybe that is part of the reason why she's been able to keep up a lot of her friends and a lot of friends from school and from college, even though she's got 2 children. So, you know, the children aren't an excuse there for sure. Again, maybe it's coming down to these devices.
Well, I think just from seeing her in action, she puts in effort. She organizes social activities. She's always doing something. I mean, this woman amazes me. Like, she's a great mother, seems like a good friend, wife, colleague, etc. Because she doesn't let the fact that, you know, she only has 24 hours stop her. She'll organize her life in such a way that, you know, she's spending time with her kids, seeing her friends, doing her work, being a wife. And I think that's a part of me that I definitely have to improve upon, because how many dinner parties have I put on, you know, since we've moved into our home? Or how many times have I, like, reached out to a friend who's had a baby and said, hey, do you need anything? Do you want me to watch your baby? Even though I don't know if I'm the most qualified babysitter, you know. But how many times have I done that? I don't even know my friends' kids' birthdays. You know, it's not like I've sent them a card. So it's like I'm noticing these things about myself and realizing that if I really want to have good friends, I also have to be a good friend. And that's something that, again, is on my radar, is like just getting, for example, step 1, getting these new babies' birthdays in my calendar so I can at least be a good auntie and send them a little card at the least. Because I know that would matter to me. That would be really meaningful to me if I did have a baby and my friends knew their birthdays and sent them gifts. that would mean I'd be over the moon about that.
Okay, so I'm going to put this out there now for people that are listening and they feel that they can kind of relate to this conversation and they want to go out there and find a meaningful relationship. You know, whether that be somebody that they can call upon and say, hey, do you mind looking after my pets or my kid? Do you want to go out and have a drink? Should we go watch this movie, this play? Let's travel overseas. Whatever, I'm having a problem. Can you help me? How would that person take away their social circumstances from online to offline and have that meaningful relationship within their village, their town, their state, whatever?
Well, I think first of all you have to come with a good heart. You know, like this is not about what somebody else can offer you, like whether it's their social status or their contacts or anything like that. Like the purpose of friendship is to be with people for just who they are. So that's number one. If you're going about it just because they're cool or something like that, like that's not the point. It's to come from a genuine place. So if you can at least make sure that that's where you're coming from. The next step would be to start going out there and putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You're going to feel awkward going to, whether it's a book club or sports club, or maybe you're going to a bar or a comedy show. I mean, there are tons of things you can do to meet people that you want to be surrounded by, whether that's a yoga class or the gym. And let's just use the gym as an example. Maybe you want to find a friend who also goes to the gym because you like the gym and you want somebody to work out with. Well, if there's somebody there that captures your attention, maybe you like their hamstrings, Step number one would be to be like, hey, you've got some great hamstrings. And you're just like making that initial contact. And I would
run the other way. Get me out of here. I'm not going back to that gym again.
Yeah. Well, don't be creepy about it. Do it in between sets. But it's basically, first, you got to make contact. And usually by complimenting somebody, whether you like their headphones, or their sneakers or something like that is one way to do it. And it's funny, I've been actually listening to this lady, her name's Vanessa Edwards, and she talks about how to navigate social situations and how to, what do you say, when you first go up to somebody, because that's the thing, like most guys, I'm going to pick on guys here, start out with a pickup line, and for me, if you were a guy coming up to me to that, be out the door in a second. I hate pickup lines. That's not interesting. I know that's not authentic, basically. And anybody anybody can read authenticity. So be authentic, just be yourself, and just know it's going to take time. That's the other part. Like even if you're seeking out a romantic relationship, you're not going on a date after the first conversation, unless it's Kris Gethin. That was fun. But yeah, it's going to take some time, and so just start out with a nice compliment. And maybe afterwards you can ask them a question about them. That maybe you're like, hey, do you have a favorite dinosaur? I see you squatting over there and reminds me of T-Rex. You got some short arms. Maybe they'll go that route. But you have to compliment and then ask a question, and then hopefully you guys jive. I mean, it's all about chemistry, isn't it? At the end of the day, whether again it's a romantic relationship or a friendship. And if you find that we have a lot to talk about, that's when you can be like, let's go get a coffee or let's go on a walk. I was actually reading this article that like if you're just meeting somebody, the best thing to do is to do something active that you...
Sex.
Yeah, start out with sex. No, do not start out with sex. Start out with a walk. Start out with rock climbing, rollerblading, skateboarding, something that you both can do together, that you're not having to depend on that whole time for conversation. Because that's what I think is one of the most intimidating aspects of meeting somebody and then going on that first, call it date, whether it's coffee, whether it's tea, whatever it is, it's like, fuck, what do I talk about for an hour or however long we're here? And that is what creates a lot of the anxiety, I think. So if you just, instead of going to the coffee or going to this place where you're right in front of that person, you're like, well, let's start talking. Go do something active. Go do something fun. Go do something that, you're, again... Swimming. Go at 6 a.m. in a pond. That's Kris Gethin's way of, hey, you want to hang out with me? Let's go swimming. 6 a.m. Quinn's Pond. Yeah, that would be it. No, but also be like, for me, I have to recognize I'm probably not going to make friends with a lot of triathletes because their idea of fun is let's go, bike for 70 miles and then run 20 miles and then let's eat a hot dog. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be doing all that. So that would be another aspect, is think about the group you want to be in. Do you enjoy what they do? Do they have a similar lifestyle as you? And when you are surrounded by people who maybe like working out or who eat clean or are into a certain kind of music that you like, it's going to be easier to strike up a conversation. I mean, you could go to a concert, I'm sure everybody's city has some sort of local music scene. You go to a show and there's got to be people there who are interested in you, in the same things as you are.
Yeah, for sure. Good advice. Like I'm not the sociable person, but I step back and look at things and I think, okay, if I was going to do this, this is how I'll go about it. I'm quite confident I'll be successful at it, but I just don't want it. You know what I mean? So same sort of thing. Like if you want to interact with certain people, you may have to go online in order to find some. Because like for instance, there's a hiking group here, there's a walking group, there's a book reading group, campfire book reading group, whatever that is. But I just see all these different groups and I just think, okay, I will plug myself into that social circle that interests me, where I could possibly find somebody that could be a friend in the future or now or whatever. And that's how I would go about it. There's probably a good music, there's definitely a good music vibe here in Boise, Idaho. So I'd probably, go and hang out at the record store here, the Record Exchange, because I love that place, And the people that are probably hanging out in there, that are working in there, are possibly some of the people that I'd want to hang out with. If I go past, there's that bar, I can't remember what's that bar in town, Mulligan's. Yeah, when I see people sat outside there, I see the kind of rings they're wearing, the clothes they're wearing, the different coloured hair, and I'm thinking, okay, that's probably the trashiest place here in Boise, but it's probably the coolest place where the coolest people are hanging out. I don't know, I don't go to the bars, but like I'm assuming that, so that's where I'd hang out, that's where I'd go meet people, because I used to hang out and meet, hang out with a lot of people who were into the same music as me, so we could go to the same gigs. I loved going to gigs that were Elastica, Happy Mondays, Ash, Marilyn Manson, all these bands back in the UK. I'd be hanging out, and I did the same thing when I was in Australia. I started hanging out with people there so we could go to the big day out and go to those festivals. So you just have to plug yourself into that social circumstance based on what you want to get out of that friendship. I'm not going to go and hang out with triathletes if that's the direction that I wanted to go in.
No, that's a very good point. And then I think, a step from that, so let's say you've put yourself out there and you've made a connection now with somebody. I mean, now this is the part you really have to work on. You've done the hard bit, but now you have to maintain that. And that's the part where, think about it as a romantic relationship. If you like somebody and they don't text you for a week, you're going to wonder what's going on. And that's not necessarily the case for all friends, because once you've made a friend, it's easier to have that friend in your life. But just be aware that while you're making friends, you can't just assume that that person knows you're their friend already. You have to continue being like, hey, what are you up to? You want to go grab a bite? Or do you want to go to this workout class with me? Or hey, I'm going to go do this. And put it out there, keep them on your social radar and create the social activities. Don't wait for somebody to just invite you to do something. I think that's one of the biggest errors I've made. And I'm like, why doesn't anybody invite me to anything? Oh, wait a minute, because I'm not doing anything either. I haven't invited anybody to anything, and I have this expectation that they should invite me. And so it can't be that way. Like, friendship is very reciprocal. And just be aware, like, if you've made a connection and you are putting a lot of effort, you've been texting, you've been trying, and that person's not responsive to you, don't take offense. Just be like, all right, find another person. There's bound to be people out there who you're going to connect with, and you can only figure that out by putting yourself out there.
Sure. Good advice.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to work out.
Oh!
What are you training?
Arms.
Arms.
I'm going to be doing some arms.
It's a gun show, baby.
That's right.
I'll train my neck.
Ooh.
Try to add an inch to my neck by this time next year.
You just want to look like Slate. I know it.
Slate, yeah.
Yeah, he's beating you.
Yeah, he's kicking my ass. It's all that way I select your freedom in the morning.
Well, to wrap it up, what would you say the steps are for making friends?
I thought we just went through the steps.
Yeah?
Yeah, I gave him my advice, you gave him your advice, that's it, I'm done. This is not a strength of mine. And, you know, this is obviously a non-fitness health. Well, it's health.
It's a health.
It's healthy. Kind of podcast. It's just kind of more of a discussion that I just wanted to kind of surface, knowing that, you know, our differences, but, you know, helping people to kind of understand and maybe they acknowledge and, you know, it'll kind of push them out. You know, I'm gonna make an effort. I am gonna make an effort. Just like, you know, if you want to feel good about yourself, you try smile and try to get a smile from someone back, and it does. It lifts you up. So, you know, part of my parcel is, like I said, I want to increase my health span, and if this is part of it, I'm going to have to make that sacrifice and find a friend.
Well, it's going to be easy for you with that accent.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode, everybody, and thank you ever so much for joining me, Sunshine.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime.
Oh.
Actually, I'll be careful what I ask for it. And as I said before, if you do like this podcast, please leave a review. Do leave us a rating.
Yeah.
And subscribe. So until next week, peace out.
Cheese. I mean, ciao. What am I saying?
Cheese? Cheese? Right, let's not edit that.
Oh my God.
Cheese. I was thinking, is this new? I thought that was another millennial thing.